Tiana's hands trembled as she clutched the crumpled withdrawal slip, the bank manager's dismissive words still ringing in her ears. Around her, the marble floors and gold-trimmed counters of Manhattan First National seemed to mock her worn sneakers and faded jacket. She could feel every eye in the lobby burning into her brown skin, judging, dismissing. "Ma'am, I've already explained," the manager said, his tone dripping with condescension. "We cannot process this withdrawal without proper identification, and your account shows insufficient—" "Her account is fine." The voice cut through the tension like a blade, deep, accented, absolute. Tiana turned to see a man in a charcoal suit that probably cost more than her yearly salary. Dark eyes met hers for just a moment, and something in her chest tightened. He was younger than she expected, maybe mid-30s with sharp features and a presence that made everyone in the lobby straighten unconsciously. The bank manager's face drained of color. "Mr. Marquez, I didn't realize—" "You didn't realize what?" The man's voice remained soft, but the authority underneath was unmistakable. "That she deserves the same respect as everyone else who walks through these doors?" Tiana watched, frozen, as the most powerful-looking man she'd ever seen stepped between her and a humiliation she'd been swallowing her whole life. And she had no idea this single moment was about to change everything. 40 minutes earlier, Tiana Harris had been running. The subway had been delayed, again, and her 4-year-old daughter Sophia's fever had spiked to 102 degrees that morning. The pediatrician wanted her in immediately, which meant Tiana needed to withdraw the emergency fund she'd been building for 3 years. $217, it might as well have been $2 million, for how hard she'd worked to save it. She burst through the heavy glass doors of Manhattan First National, her dark brown skin glistening with sweat despite the October chill. Her natural hair, usually styled in a neat bun for her housekeeping job, had started to frizz from the humidity and her frantic pace. She knew she looked out of place in her cleaning service uniform, but she'd come straight from Mrs. Chen's penthouse in the Upper East Side. The bank was all white marble and hushed conversations, smelling of expensive cologne and old money. Tiana approached the counter, trying to ignore the way the woman in the Chanel suit gave her a once-over that felt like an X-ray. "I need to make a withdrawal," Tiana said, sliding her bank card across the counter to the teller, a young blonde woman whose smile didn't quite reach her eyes. "Account number." Tiana rattled it off from memory. She'd opened this account when Sophia was born, determined her daughter would have something, anything, if the world decided to be as cruel to her as it had been to Tiana. The teller's manicured fingers clicked across the keyboard. Her smile faded. "1 moment, please." That's when the manager appeared. Gerald Hutchins, according to his gold nameplate. Mid-50s, thinning hair, the kind of man who probably complained about those people at his country club. "Ma'am, there seems to be an issue with your account." Tiana's stomach dropped. "What kind of issue? I have $217 in there. I checked yesterday. Our system shows inconsistencies. I'll need to see multiple forms of identification, proof of address, and I have my ID right here." Tiana dug into her worn purse, hands shaking. She knew what this was. She'd lived it 1,000 times. The scrutiny that came automatically, the suspicion that her money couldn't possibly be legitimately hers. "This ID photo doesn't look like you." Tiana blinked. "I had braids then, it's me." "I'll need additional verification. Social security card, birth certificate. For a withdrawal from my own account?" Her voice rose despite herself. "I've banked here for 4 years." "Bank policy, ma'am, especially for accounts with irregular activity patterns." Translation: Black woman, small account, must be fraud. The other customers were starting to stare. Tiana felt heat crawling up her neck, tears of frustration burning behind her eyes. Sophia was home with their neighbor, Mrs. Rodriguez, who had her own grandkids to watch. Tiana needed that money. Now. "Please," she heard herself say, hating the desperation in her voice. "My daughter is sick. I just need—" "Ma'am, I've already explained. We cannot process this withdrawal without proper identification, and your account shows insufficient—" "Her account is fine." The voice stopped time. Tiana turned, and her breath caught. The man standing 3 feet away looked like he'd stepped out of a movie about beautiful, dangerous men. Tall, easily 6'2", with dark hair styled back, olive skin, and eyes so dark they were almost black. The charcoal suit he wore was tailored to perfection, and when he moved, she noticed the subtle gleam of what had to be a very expensive watch beneath his cuff. But it was his presence that truly struck her. The entire bank lobby seemed to recalibrate around him. Conversations stopped. The security guard straightened. Even the air felt different. "Mr. Marquez." The manager's voice had gone from condescending to obsequious in a heartbeat. "I didn't realize you were here today." Clearly. Cristiano Marquez's accent was slight, Spanish maybe, and made every word sound like silk wrapped around steel. He didn't look at the manager. His eyes were on Tiana, and she felt pinned by their intensity. "You were saying her account is insufficient?" "Well, there are irregularities, and bank policy requires bank policy." Chris finally turned to the manager, and Hutchins actually took a step back. "The same policy that didn't require 3 forms of ID from the man who withdrew $50,000 in cash last week, or is this a special policy?" The silence was deafening. That's different." "Different how?" Chris's voice remained quiet, but everyone in the lobby heard it. "Explain to me how it's different, Gerald." The manager's face had gone from pale to red. "Mr. Marquez, I assure you, we treat all customers. You're treating this woman like a criminal for trying to access her own money." Chris reached into his jacket. Several people tensed and pulled out a business card. He handed it to Tiana. "My attorney. If this bank refuses to give you your money in the next 60 seconds, call him." Tiana stared at the card. The paper was heavy, expensive. Embossed gold lettering, Marco Stellini, Esquivo. "That won't be necessary." The manager practically jumped. "Of course we can process the withdrawal. Jennifer, help this young lady immediately." The teller, who'd been dismissive 2 minutes ago, now couldn't move fast enough. "How much would you like to withdraw, ma'am?" Tiana's voice came out barely above a whisper. $217. All of it. She felt, rather than saw, Chris stiffen beside her. When she glanced up, something had shifted in his expression, a tightness around his eyes. "And I'll need to see the branch manager," Chris said quietly. "In private, now." "Of course, Mr. Marquez. Right this way." As the manager scurried toward his office, Chris touched Tiana's elbow, just lightly, but she felt it like electricity. "Wait for me?" It wasn't really a request. Before she could answer, he was walking away, and she noticed for the first time the 2 men in dark suits flanking the entrance. They hadn't been there when she'd arrived. Or had they? The teller counted out her money with shaking hands. $217 in 20s and singles. Her entire safety net. Tiana clutched the cash, mind reeling. Who was Cristiano Marquez? Why had he helped her? And why did the entire bank staff look like they'd seen a ghost? She should leave, take her money and run to the pharmacy, get Sophia's medicine, forget this ever happened. But she waited. 10 minutes later, Chris emerged from the manager's office. Gerald Hutchins looked like he'd aged 10 years. Chris's expression was unreadable as he approached Tiana. "Your account has been upgraded to premium status," he said simply. "No fees, no minimum balance requirements, and Hutchins will be attending sensitivity training, personally funded by me." Tiana's mouth fell open. "You didn't have to—" "Yes, I did." His eyes met hers, and again that jolt of something. No one should be treated that way, especially not for trying to take care of their child. "How did you know— I heard you say your daughter was sick." He paused. "Is she okay?" The concern in his voice seemed genuine, which somehow made this all more surreal. "Fever. The doctor wants to see her today." Chris nodded, then did something that made Tiana's world tilt. He reached into his wallet and pulled out $500 bills. "For the doctor, and anything else she needs." "I can't take that." But even as she said it, Tiana thought of Sophia's flushed cheeks, her small body burning up. "I don't even know you." "Then get to know me." A slight smile curved his lips, and Tiana realized with a start that he was devastatingly handsome when he wasn't being intimidating. "Have coffee with me. Tomorrow." "I work tomorrow. When do you finish?" 3 o'clock, but there's a cafe on Madison and 71st. Meet me at 3:30. He pressed the money into her hand before she could protest again. His fingers were warm, strong. Please, let me know your daughter is okay. Then he was walking away, the two suited men falling into step behind him like shadows. At the door, he turned back. Tiana Harris. I'm Cristiano Marquez. But my friends call me Chris. He left, and Tiana stood in the marble lobby of Manhattan First National, holding $717 and a lawyer's business card, with absolutely no idea what had just happened. But when she looked at the bank manager, sweating and pale behind his desk, she knew one thing for certain. Cristiano Marquez was someone who made very powerful people very afraid. And tomorrow, she was having coffee with him. What kind of man makes an entire bank bend to his will with just a few words? Tiana is about to discover that Cristiano Marquez's power runs deeper and darker than she ever imagined. But first, she has a choice to make. Walk away from the most compelling man she's ever met, or step into a world where nothing is as it seems. Keep watching to find out what happens when Tiana shows up for that coffee date, if she shows up at all. Tiana almost didn't go. She'd spent the previous 24 hours alternating between relief that Sophia's fever had broken, just a virus, thank God, and absolute panic about what she'd agreed to. Coffee with a stranger who'd given her $500 like it was pocket change, a stranger who made bank managers grovel. You should go, Mrs. Rodriguez had said that morning, adjusting her thick glasses as she watched Sophia color at the kitchen table. When was the last time a handsome man bought you coffee? Never, Tiana admitted. That's kind of the problem. Mija, you work too hard. Let someone take care of you for once. But that was exactly what worried Tiana. She didn't know how to let someone take care of her. She'd been on her own since she was 17, since her grandmother died and she'd aged out of the system. She'd learned early that depending on anyone was a luxury she couldn't afford. Still, at 3:15, she found herself standing in front of the full-length mirror in her tiny bedroom, smoothing down the nicest dress she owned, a simple navy blue shift she'd bought at a thrift store for job interviews. She'd spent 30 minutes on her hair, finally pulling her natural curls into a high bun that showed off her cheekbones, a touch of lip gloss, small gold hoops. She looked good. Not like she belonged in Chris's world, but good. The cafe on Madison and 71st was exactly the kind of place Tiana never went. White-clothed tables, fresh flowers, a menu where coffee cost more than her hourly wage. She was about to turn around when she saw him. Chris sat at a corner table, and even in jeans and a simple black sweater he looked like money. But it was the way he stood when he saw her, the genuine smile that lit his dark eyes, that made her feet move forward. "You came," he said, and she heard actual relief in his voice. "You thought I wouldn't. I thought you'd be too smart to have coffee with a stranger." He pulled out her chair, actually pulled out her chair like in old movies, and Tiana sat, hyper-aware of the worn fabric of her dress, the scuff on her shoes. "Maybe I'm not that smart," she murmured. "Or maybe you're curious." He signaled the waiter without looking away from her. "How's Sophia?" The fact that he remembered her daughter's name made something warm unfold in Tiana's chest. "Better. The fever broke last night. It was just a virus." "Good." He leaned back, studying her with an intensity that should have been uncomfortable, but somehow wasn't. "Tell me about yourself." "Tiana Harris." "There's not much to tell. I doubt that." So she told him. Not everything, not about the foster homes or the nights she'd gone hungry so Sophia could eat, but enough. About her job cleaning houses in the Upper East Side. About Sophia, the light of her life, who wanted to be an astronaut and could already read at a first-grade level. About the tiny apartment in Washington Heights that cost half her salary, but had a fire escape where they could see stars. Chris listened like every word mattered. He didn't check his phone, didn't let his eyes wander. Just listened, occasionally asking questions that showed he was actually hearing her. "Your turn," Tiana said finally, as their second cup of coffee arrived. "Who is Cristiano Marquez?" Something flickered across his face. "What do you want to know? Why does a bank manager look at you like you're the president and the devil combined? He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. I own several businesses in the city. People tend to be cautious around me. What kind of businesses? Import, export mostly. Some real estate, a few nightclubs. He paused. I have a complicated reputation. Complicated how? People think I'm dangerous. Tiana's heart kicked up. Are you? To people who hurt the ones I care about? Yes. He leaned forward and she caught his scent, something expensive and woody. To you? Never. You don't even know me. I'd like to. His hand moved across the table, not quite touching hers, but close enough to feel the heat. I know you work yourself to exhaustion for your daughter. I know you tried to withdraw every penny you had to make sure she got medical care. I know you're strong and proud, and you don't take handouts easily. You got all that from 10 minutes in a bank. I got that from the way you held your head up while that man tried to humiliate you. Chris's voice hardened. You want to know what kind of man I am? I'm the kind who makes sure Gerald Hutchins never works in banking again. Tiana's eyes widened. You got him fired? I made some calls. He has a history of discrimination against customers who don't fit his profile. Chris's jaw tightened. Women like you, people he thinks don't belong in his pristine marble palace. I don't need you to fight my battles. I know you don't need me to. But I wanted to. He finally touched her hand, just his fingertips against her knuckles, and Tiana's breath caught. Let me be honest with you. I saw you walk into that bank and I saw them dismiss you before you even spoke. It made me furious. And then I heard your voice when you said your daughter was sick, and something in my chest. He trailed off, seeming surprised at his own words. What? Tiana whispered. Cracked open. He turned her hand over, his thumb tracing the calluses on her palm from years of cleaning. I have everything, Tiana. Money, power, respect. But I haven't felt anything real in longer than I can remember. Until yesterday. This was crazy. This was a stranger. Probably someone with a dangerous past, telling her things that should send her running. But when she looked into his eyes, she saw something that matched the ache in her own chest. Loneliness. I should go, she said, but didn't move. Stay. Not a command, a plea. Just a little longer. So she stayed. They talked about everything and nothing. Sophia's favorite books. His mother, who died when he was 12. Tiana's dream of finishing her GED. His admission that he was an insomniac who walked the city at 3 a.m. The conversation flowed like they'd known each other for years, not hours. When Tiana finally checked her phone, it was almost 7. Oh God, I have to pick up Sophia. Let me drive you. You don't have to. Please. And there was that word again from a man who probably never had to say please for anything. The car waiting outside was a black SUV with tinted windows. The driver, one of the men from the bank, opened the door for her. Tiana slid into leather seats that probably cost more than her entire apartment. Chris gave the driver an address Tiana hadn't mentioned. How did you... I'm thorough. He must have seen her expression because he added quickly, I wanted to know you were safe, that Sophia was safe. I'm sorry if that crosses a line. It should have terrified her. Instead, she felt protected. They rode in silence through Manhattan streets, turning amber in the evening light. When they pulled up to Mrs. Rodriguez's building, Chris touched her arm. See you tomorrow? I work until 6. Dinner then, 7 o'clock. I'll pick you up. Chris, I know this is fast. His eyes searched hers. I know you have every reason to be careful, but I haven't felt this alive in years, and I'm not ready to let that go. Are you? Tiana thought about her life, the endless cycle of work, exhaustion, barely making rent. The loneliness she'd gotten so good at ignoring. The part of her that had stopped believing she deserved anything beautiful. No, she whispered. I'm not ready either. Then say yes. Yes. He leaned in. Tiana's heart stopped and kissed her cheek, so softly she almost imagined it. Tomorrow. She climbed out of the SUV on shaking legs and watched it pull away. Mrs. Rodriguez was waiting at the window, grinning like a lottery winner. Tiana touched her cheek where his lips had been and wondered what she was getting herself into. She had no idea that by tomorrow night she'd discover exactly what kind of man Cristiano Marquez really was, and by then, it would be too late to walk away. Tiana is falling faster than she ever imagined possible, but she still doesn't know the truth about Chris's world. What happens when a woman who spent her whole life invisible suddenly catches the attention of the most powerful man in New York? And more importantly, what happens when his rivals notice her too? The answer comes tomorrow night at 7 o'clock. Keep watching to discover what Tiana is about to walk into. The dress arrived at 4 p.m. Tiana stared at the garment bag hanging on her apartment door, delivered by a private courier, who'd refused to leave until she signed for it. Inside was a midnight blue dress in her exact size. How did he know? With a note in elegant handwriting. For tonight. But you'd be beautiful in anything. See, she should have been offended, should have sent it back. Instead, she held the silk against her body and felt like Cinderella. The dress fit perfectly, hugging her curves in a way that made her actually believe she was beautiful. She did her makeup carefully, highlighting her brown skin with a subtle glow, her lips in a deep berry shade. Her hair she left natural, her curls forming a halo that she'd usually hide, but tonight felt proud of. When Chris's SUV arrived at 7, she was ready, or thought she was. Dios mío, Chris breathed when she slid into the back seat. He was in a black suit that probably cost 5 figures, but he was looking at her like she was priceless. Tiana, I can't even... The dress is beautiful, she said, feeling shy. Thank you. The dress is just fabric. You make it beautiful. He took her hand, threading their fingers together, and Tiana felt that electricity again. Ready? Where are we going? A mysterious smile. You'll see. The restaurant was in a building Tiana had cleaned before, one of those places where you needed a reservation 6 months in advance and connections most people didn't have. But when Chris walked in, holding her hand like she belonged there, the maitre d' practically bowed. Mr. Marquez, your private room is ready. Private room, of course. They were led through the main dining area, where Tiana caught glimpses of celebrities and politicians, to a secluded room with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Central Park. Candles, fresh roses, a violinist in the corner. It was the most romantic thing Tiana had ever experienced, and terrifying because of it. This is too much, she whispered, as Chris pulled out her chair. This is barely enough. He sat across from her, and in the candlelight, he looked almost vulnerable. I want you to feel what you deserve to feel. Special, treasured. I clean houses for a living. So, I grew up in a tenement in Spanish Harlem with 6 people sharing 3 rooms. His accent thickened with the memory. My mother cleaned houses too. She worked herself to exhaustion doing it, passed away at 42. Tiana's hand flew to her mouth. Chris! I don't tell people that. Ever. He reached across the table for her hand. But I want you to know I understand what it costs to survive, what you sacrifice for the people you love. Is that why you helped me? Because I reminded you of your mother. No. His grip tightened. I helped you because when I saw the way they treated you, something in me snapped. And when I heard your voice, this strong, dignified woman refusing to be made small, I felt something I haven't felt in 15 years. What? Hope. The word hung between them like a prayer. Tiana felt tears prick her eyes. You terrify me, she admitted. This world, this life, I don't understand it. I don't understand you, but when I'm with you, I feel safe, he offered quietly. Seen, she squeezed his hand. Like I matter. You do matter. Chris stood, moving around the table to kneel beside her chair. Tiana's breath caught. You matter more than you know, and I need to tell you something before we go any further. Here it comes, Tiana thought. The truth about who he really is. But before Chris could speak, the door opened. A man in a dark suit, not one of Chris's, appeared looking anxious. Boss, we have a situation. The Kozlov people are here. He stopped, seeing Tiana. Chris was on his feet instantly, his body between her and the man. Get out. But boss, they're demanding to speak with you. I said get out. The command in Chris's voice made even Tiana flinch. The man disappeared. Chris turned to her, and Tiana saw something new in his face. Concern. "We need to leave. Now." "What's happening?" "I'll explain in the car. Please, Tiana, trust me." But they didn't make it to the car. The main dining room had erupted into tension, raised voices, tables shifting, and three men in expensive suits moving with purpose through the crowd, moving toward their private room. Chris grabbed her hand. "Kitchen, now." They moved quickly. Tiana's heels clicked against marble as Chris guided her through swinging doors into an industrial kitchen, where staff scattered at the sight of his face, through the back, into an alley, where two more of Chris's men waited with another SUV. "Get her to the apartment," Chris ordered, helping Tiana into the vehicle. "What about you?" Tiana grabbed his jacket. "Chris, what's happening?" "People who don't like my business success discovered I care about something." His hand cupped her face, thumb stroking her cheek. "They'll use you to pressure me. I can't let that happen. I don't understand. I'm not just a businessman, Tiana." His eyes were anguished. "I built my empire in difficult ways. I have connections to people most would rather avoid, and I have rivals who would threaten you to get to me." The world tilted. Not quite what she'd expected, but close enough. "I should have told you," Chris said urgently. "I was going to tell you tonight, but I wanted one perfect evening with you first. I'm sorry, I'm so sorry." Tiana should have been horrified, should have demanded to be taken home, but all she could think was that this man, this powerful, complicated man, looked broken at the thought of losing her. "Are you in danger?" she asked. "Sometimes. But I can handle it. If I'm in danger too, then we face it together." "Tiana, together," she repeated firmly. "You don't get to protect me by pushing me away." Something fierce and possessive flashed in Chris's eyes. He kissed her then, hard and desperate, pouring everything he hadn't said into the press of his lips against hers. Tiana kissed him back, tasting danger and promise, and something that felt terrifyingly like destiny. When he pulled away, they were both breathing hard. "Okay," he said roughly. "Together, but you stay where I tell you to stay, when I tell you to stay there. Agreed?" "Agreed." He kissed her forehead, lingering. "I'll come for you as soon as it's safe." Then he was gone, shouting orders in Spanish to his men, the door closing between them. The SUV moved smoothly through the night. Tiana pressed her hand to the window, watching Chris disappear into the restaurant, wondering if she'd just made the best or worst decision of her life. The driver caught her eye in the rearview mirror. "Don't worry, miss. Boss always takes care of business." But Tiana heard the uncertainty in his voice, and she realized with crystal clarity that she'd just fallen in love with the most complicated man in New York. God help them both. Tiana has been thrown into a world where love comes with complications and trust is everything. But she made her choice, to stand by Chris no matter what. Now she's about to discover that being important to a powerful man comes with challenges, and those challenges might test them both more than they ever imagined. The question is, will their love be strong enough to survive what comes next? Keep watching to find out what happens when Tiana sees just how far Chris will go to protect her. The penthouse was in Tribeca with floor-to-ceiling windows and security that would make Fort Knox jealous. Tiana spent the next 6 hours pacing the marble floors in her beautiful dress, jumping at every sound, checking her phone obsessively. Chris had texted once, "Safe, coming to you soon, stay put." That was 4 hours ago. At 2 a.m., Sophia started crying through the phone. Mrs. Rodriguez had called, worried. "She's asking for you, mija. Put her on. Mommy." Sophia's small voice broke Tiana's heart. "When are you coming home?" "Soon, baby, I promise. I just have to take care of something important." "Is it the man from the bank? The one who helped us?" "Smart girl." "Yes, baby, it's him. I like him, Mommy. He has nice eyes." Tiana felt tears spill over. "He does, doesn't he?" After she hung up, she found one of Chris's men watching her with something like sympathy. "He really cares about you, you know. Boss doesn't bring anyone into his personal life, ever. You're the first." "Lucky me," Tiana muttered, but without heat. At 3:17 a.m., the door finally opened. Chris walked in looking like he'd been through an ordeal. Shirt disheveled, Ty gone, exhaustion in every line of his body, but alive. He was alive. Tiana. Just her name, said like a prayer. She ran to him. He caught her, crushing her against his chest, his face buried in her hair. "I'm okay," he murmured. "I'm okay. It's over." "What happened?" "Kozlov wanted to renegotiate our business arrangement. I convinced him that pressuring me through you was a mistake he wouldn't want to repeat." Chris pulled back, cupping her face in his strong hands. "I also made it very clear what would happen to anyone who came near you or Sophia." "Sophia, how do you—" "I know everything about you, Tiana. I've known since the moment I saw you." He traced her lips with his thumb. 4 years old, wants to be an astronaut. Favorite color is purple, allergic to strawberries. She's your world. And you were prepared for this, Tiana realized. You had people watching Mrs. Rodriguez's building, didn't you? The moment you said yes to coffee, I made sure you were both protected. He looked almost defiant. "I won't apologize for that. I'm not asking you to." Tiana took his hands, examining his tense fingers. "But I need you to be honest with me. All of it. No more secrets," so he told her. About inheriting his father's struggling business at 19. About building it into an empire through determination and sometimes ruthless strategy. About the legitimate operations, nightclubs, real estate, and the less legitimate connections he'd made along the way. About the rivals who resented his success and the precarious balance he maintained. "I'm not a saint," he finished quietly. "I've made choices I'm not proud of, done things to survive that kept me up at night, but with you." He looked at her with such raw vulnerability that Tiana's heart ached. "With you, I want to be better. You make me remember there's more to life than power and survival." Tiana thought about her life, the struggle, the loneliness, the way society had told her over and over that she didn't matter. And here was a man who'd turned an entire bank upside down because someone disrespected her, who'd stood between her and danger, who looked at her like she was the most precious thing in his world. "I should be scared of you," she said. "You should run screaming." "But I'm not going to." Hope flared in his dark eyes. "No, no." Tiana pulled him down until their foreheads touched. "Because I see you, Cristiano Marquez. I see the boy who lost his mother too young, the man who fights every day to build something in a world that wants to knock him down, the person underneath all the power and complications who just wants to be loved. Tiana, I love you." The words came out sure and strong. "I know it's crazy. I know it's too fast, but I've been invisible my whole life and you see me. So yes, I love you and I'm not going anywhere." Chris kissed her like she was oxygen and he was drowning. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, he pressed something into her hand. A key. "To this apartment. To my penthouse uptown. To everything I have." His voice was rough. "Move in with me. You and Sophia. Let me take care of you both. Not because you need it, but because I need to, please. Chris, that's too much, I know. Too fast. But I'm 34 years old, and I've never felt this way about anyone. You're it for me, Tiana. You're everything." She looked at the key, at his earnest face, at his eyes full of desperate hope. "I need to finish my GED," she said finally, "and Sophia needs stability, good schools, support for everything this life might put her through. Done. And I need you to promise me something. Anything. That you'll focus on building the legitimate businesses, that you'll distance yourself from the dangerous parts of your world." She gripped his hands. "Because I can't lose you. I won't survive it." Chris pulled her close, his lips against her temple. "I promise. It'll take time, but I'll build something clean, something Sophia can be proud of one day. For you, for her, for us." Then yes. Tiana felt joy burst through her chest like sunlight. Yes, to everything. He spun her around, laughing, actually laughing, and Tiana realized she'd never heard him sound so free. When he set her down, he was smiling that brilliant smile. "You won't regret this. I know." And she did know. This wasn't a fairy tale. Chris was complicated, his world had dangers, and there would be hard days ahead. But for the first time in her life, Tiana Harris felt like she mattered, like she was worth fighting for, like she deserved love. As dawn broke over New York City, Chris held her close, and Tiana let herself believe in happy endings, even the complicated, messy, beautiful ones. 6 months later, Tiana woke to sunlight streaming through floor-to-ceiling windows and the smell of coffee. She stretched in the king-sized bed, their bed, in the penthouse overlooking Central Park, and smiled. From the kitchen she could hear Chris singing in Spanish, slightly off-key, and Sophia giggling. "Mommy!" Her daughter came running in, jumping on the bed in her astronaut pajamas. "Chris made pancakes shaped like spaceships. Did he now?" Chris appeared in the doorway, barefoot in jeans and a t-shirt, holding a tray. "I was going to surprise you." "Consider me surprised." Tiana sat up, pulling Sophia into her lap. "You're up early." "Couldn't sleep." He set the tray down and climbed onto the bed with them, this powerful man now transformed into something soft and domestic. Too excited. "About what?" He handed her an envelope. "Open it." Inside were legal documents. Tiana scanned them, her eyes widening. "Chris, is this the final transition? As of last week, I've severed all my questionable business ties. The clubs and real estate are 100% legitimate now. Clean books, clean operations." He brushed her curls back from her face. "I kept my promise." Tiana felt tears well up. "You did. And this." He handed Sophia a folder. "Your new school, the best private academy in the city, full scholarship in your mother's name." Sophia shrieked with joy. Tiana just stared at the man she loved, overwhelmed. "You're really doing this," she whispered. "Building something new. I'm choosing life." Chris kissed her softly. "I'm choosing you, both of you, every single day." Later, after Sophia had run off to video call her new best friend from the building downstairs, Chris pulled Tiana onto his lap on the couch. "There's one more thing," he said, looking nervous for the first time since she'd known him. "Chris." He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small box. Tiana's heart stopped. "I know it's only been 6 months," Chris said quickly. "And I know we said we'd take things at our own pace. But I've spent too much of my life being careful and calculated. I don't want to be careful with you. I want to be reckless and certain and absolutely sure." He opened the box. The ring inside was stunning, an emerald surrounded by diamonds, the green stone exactly the color of the dress she'd worn the night everything changed. "Tiana Harris, you saved my life. Not by pulling me from danger, but by giving me something worth living for. Will you marry me?" She thought about the scared woman who'd walked into a bank 6 months ago, just trying to get medicine for her daughter. The woman who'd been invisible her whole life. That woman was gone. In her place was someone who knew her worth, who'd been loved so thoroughly she'd learned to love herself, who was building a life that included GED classes, family dinners, and a future she'd never dared to dream of. "Yes," she said, watching joy explode across his face. "Yes, yes, yes." He slid the ring onto her finger and kissed her breathless. When they finally pulled apart, both grinning like fools, Tiana rested her forehead against his. "Who would have thought," she murmured. "The maid and the businessman. The woman who changed everything," he corrected. "And the man who finally learned what matters. Forever yours." "Forever mine," Tiana agreed. And as sunlight poured into their home, filling it with warmth and promise, she knew that sometimes the best love stories started in the most unexpected places. Sometimes all it took was one person seeing you, really seeing you, and deciding you were worth everything.